Let us pray. Lord God, we come before you on this Sunday morning together to worship, to know you, to find you the way we need you most. Be our good shepherd. Help us to hear your voice and to follow. In Jesus' name, amen. Please be seated. I look a little groggy this morning. It's because I had a big wedding last night, so I am a little groggy this morning, but I think you're all out there. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to spend a long weekend with a monk out of Colorado. His name was William Menninger. He was a curmudgeon-y old man who loved to tell blunt stories to shock you. But my time with him very much was a blessing for my life. And so I hope to share with you some of what he shared with me, not only today, but in the weeks and years to follow. Here's one of the stories he told. He told a story of a boy named Michael who was 18 years old. Michael was powerfully built. He was a big young man from the wrong side of the tracks. He was streetwise. He was hired by a wealthy so-called businessman in their town as a bodyguard. It did not disturb Michael in the least when part of his job was illegal. It didn't disturb him when he was put over helping to run drug-induced orgies and secretly videotape and blackmail some of the wealthier members of a California country club. What did bother Michael, however, was that when the racket was finally broken up by the police, he took the fall. He was blamed for the entire operation. His boss was never even accused because of influence and wealth. Michael was willing to admit his fault, his guilt, but he was unwilling to let go of the fact that that other man was guilty too. When the judge fixed blame on him with an 8-year sentence to prison, Michael was so enraged that he picked up a courtroom bench and attacked the judge. It took 6 men, supposedly, to restrain his fury. And when it was all done, the judge sentenced him to 8 years to a prison for the criminally insane. If Michael wasn't criminally insane on his sentence, by the time he got in prison, he was. His anger, his rage was unabated. He attacked every guard he could get his hands on. He destroyed his cell. He threw his food against the wall repeatedly. He was an animal. Father Menninger said one day, years later, Michael confided in him, and he said, Michael said, it took about a year, almost a year before I finally asked myself, just whom am I hurting here? I slowly began to realize that my rage, the hatred that I kept inside, had no effect on my former boss, or my parents, or the judge, or the system I protested. I was the one who was left hungry when I threw my food against the wall. And I had to ask myself, how could I stop? It wasn't enough, he said, to stop my violent activities. It was like there was poison. The poison of hatred and anger were within me. I was hurting so bad I had to change from within. He says, I was finally forced to realize that the only way I could escape from my real prison, the one I had built around myself, was to learn forgiveness. I did it. It was not easy, but I have been free ever since. I love stories of the power of forgiveness. As you might imagine, I'm a priest. I've collected many over the years. But I have to say, I grew up on stories of a different sort. My childhood heroes were Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. Those were two of my big ones. The stories I grew up on were not of forgiveness, but of righteous revenge. You know the stories that where the obvious bad guys hurt the obvious good guys, and in rides Clint, and he kills them all. And you're left, yes, get him, Clint. Feels so good, that righteous revenge. At least in the movies. So many of us have been formed But as Michael would tell you, and as probably many of you and I can attest, that is a trick of the darkness. It is a lie to keep you in prison. It is a trick of the darkness to get the light to respond to it in a dark way. To get the light within you to become dark. Is it not? It is. We must quit dreaming of revenge and justice. We should be left to God. In sharp contrast with Michael's story, we get a reminder in our epistle reading that we read today from Peter. A reminder that Jesus went to the cross, went to his sentencing in a much different fashion. He went silently. We're reminded that when he was abused, he did not respond in hatred. When he was tortured, he did not yell threats. We've heard this so many times, and we've heard explanations about, probably you've heard something about the honor-shame dynamic in Jesus' day, and we've heard reasons why Jesus did that suggest that really underneath it all, he was showing us that he was a Clint Eastwood type man. That he could handle the pain for you because he loved you so much. He had that much control over his will. But my friends, that just misses the point of the entire gospel. Jesus did this the way he did. Because it is in the way that a person responds to evil that determines whether evil wins or not in their life. If light acts like darkness, no matter what reasons, darkness abounds. One sin is not defeated by another. Sin is just multiplied. We teach our children this. 2 wrongs don't make a right. It's the same thing. God wants you to have what you long for. Each of us. He wants you to have what you long for. In today's gospel reading, Jesus says, I've come so that you may have life and have it abundantly. Isn't that what we long for? He wants you to be free. He wants you to be a source of light. He said you want to have peace, you want to have joy, you want to have fulfillment. Isn't that what we want? We want to have lives of purpose, lives of meaning. But there's only one way. One way to get there from where you sit today, from where I stand. And that is the way of forgiveness. It is the way of the Good Shepherd. Or as my monk friend, Father Menninger, said, it is to entrench, to ingrain your life in the process of forgiving. Well, I don't know what's hurt you. I know that you've been hurt. Maybe we men prefer a Clint Eastwood type image. But real men are not scared of the truth. We all have hurts, and we carry around wounds, some small from workplace and from friendship betrayals, others deep, true, genuine abuses, infidelities. And parents, research shows, no matter how perfect you are of a parent, that once a person depends upon another person the way a child does a parent, the parent is going to leave scars. We all are scarred and wounded by our parents. We have wounds. And honestly, I believe every Christian here knows that we need to forgive. We've heard this. But how? How do we do it? How, when someone doesn't ask for forgiveness, how do you forgive them? When they don't even know they've done something wrong, why would you forgive? And yet, the Good Shepherd calls us down that road. So often we talk about forgiveness, but rarely have I heard someone talk about how to forgive, and that's why Father Menninger really struck me in my life. He began talking about how we forgive and describing it as this process, which in my life ever since has just shown to be so true. One of the things which makes forgiveness so difficult for you and me is that we get confused about what it is and what it is not. And so while I cannot do a thorough job in the next couple of minutes with this kind concept. I'm going to describe what it is not and what it is. And I've given you some sermon notes on the back of your bulletin to help. And right now I've probably lost all of you because you were turning your bulletin over to see the sermon notes, but that's okay. Hopefully they will help someone in some way to glean something. So some things of forgiveness. What forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not a mighty act of the will. It is not a decision you have to make once and for all, and then you've decided to forgive them and you're done. That's a lie. Forgiveness also is not something you do for the sake of others. We know this. You do not forgive someone for their sake, but for your own sake. It is your own happiness and life that is the primary motivation of your forgiving. I'll twist this one a little bit, because in one way it is sort of about others. It's about those you love, right? For when you're able to forgive, you're able to respond to evil and injustice in a light way and be a light in the darkness for those you love. But it is not about the one who has hurt you. Forgiveness also is not condoning. It is not letting someone off the hook for what they have done. They still have the responsibilities for who they are and for what they have done to you. But it does take you out of the judgment seat. It takes you out of the seat of God, which is a mighty big burden to lay down. And one last thing that I find is very important to remember, that forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgetting often is impossible. But thankfully, forgetfulness can come. We can forget. We cannot think about things for many years after we've healed, after memories have lost their power, and you've gone through some forgiveness. You can experience forgetfulness, but forgetting is not forgiving. So to use Meninger's summary, he said forgiveness was not forgetting, it's not condoning or absolving, it's not pretense or something we do for others. It's not something we do by brute will. It does not let people off. What forgiveness is a long-term process. Forgiveness is a process, and it has many stages, much like stages of guilt, of grief, that we might know so much about. It has stages. Sometimes you move forward, sometimes back in order to move forward. Forgiveness is a process where you say, I am done giving my wounds and those who have caused them power over me. I'm done letting my light be snuffed out by darkness. I've had enough reliving that memory over and over in my mind, being kept in prison. I'm ready to begin a journey of healing, whereby I will take back the power of my wounds, no longer letting them define me, but I define them. Forgiveness allows us to realize that we're more than victims of abuse and injustice. Forgiveness is true freedom. Forgiveness is, I think, is so true. It is a sign and a cause of positive self-esteem. And on this Good Shepherd Sunday, forgiveness is the way of the Good Shepherd. It is the direction in which the one who loves you and knows you best calls you. The first and next step for you in forgiveness always needs to be to ask that Good Shepherd for his help. For forgiveness is divine. It is of God and in some ways beyond us. There's so much to say about forgiveness, so many important things. But I hope what you will glean at least is that it is a process in which we must engage each and every day of our lives. And it requires much prayer. Peter reminds us of one other scripture verse which you've heard so many times in our lives and seen on bulletin boards and bumper stickers. By his wounds you have been healed. Do you hear the obligation in this? By his wounds you have been healed. If we follow this one, the Good Shepherd. Then by his wounds you have been healed, and so by your wounds should others be. So often we live out of our woundedness, and we fail to follow that Good Shepherd. We respond to hate with hate, to darkness with darkness, and our life is snuffed out. You have so much light within you, my friends. Today, let us come to the Good Shepherd again and ask him for his help to free us from our prisons so that we may live that abundant life of joy and peace and purpose. Let us ask him for help so that our light might truly shine through the darkness of our lives and of this world. As Michael said, this is hard, but there is no other way. For this is the way of the truth, this is the way of the life, this is the way of our Lord. Let us be victors over the darkness.